All right, hello, welcome. We are live. Another week of Bitcoin, the Bitcoin miners, the market, the world, the Fed, oil. What else, George? We're here with George. How are you?
I think the job report. What was the other thing? Hey, everybody.
GDP.
Inflation.
We got, inflation
And
numbers
the
came out.
inverse. What is it? The inverse? Inflation's higher than GDP. That's bad, Tom. That's bad. That's what we call a correction.
Yeah, we definitely don't want inflation higher than GDP.
That ain't good. Then we got people making bold statements that own Bitcoin miners. It runs bold statements.
We will definitely be getting to that.
That's a good question. Who will get to 50 exahash first?
Let's. You want to run that poll, and then
Yeah,
we'll
that's
talk
a good
about
poll.
some news that came out today regarding that, and I think there's some skepticism out there, so we'll see what people think. But first, if I could ask everybody to please, hold on, let's get the actual screen up here. If you could please smash the like button, we appreciate it very much. We got 14 likes. We're going for 500 likes. We're doing another ad-free episode, so please help us out by smashing the like button if you enjoy this content, if you enjoy the Bitcoin miners. And I'm going to talk about how I think the Bitcoin miners had an excellent week, and we talked about this last Friday. We talked about this at great length for those of you who are members on the members only live stream. And despite the fact that this feels a little boring, I think a lot of people are being lulled into a little bit of boredom. The price action on the Bitcoin miners, in my opinion, this is 2 weeks in a row. We are moving in the right direction. I think we've turned the corner. We'll see what you guys think. Of course, you never want to be early on these calls, but there's a clear difference in what's gone on the last 2 weeks for the Bitcoin miners in particular than the previous 16 weeks. So I feel good. Now, they front-loaded this week, right? Monday and Tuesday were fantastic, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday were anywhere from boring to a little disappointing. But this is another day where, so we got the 15-minute chart up. This is where Bitcoin was, this gold line. That's where Bitcoin was when the market closed, when the U.S. equity markets closed yesterday. So from yesterday's close until this was today's close, now we're off to the races after the close, of course, but from yesterday's close to today's close, Bitcoin was down about 1.5%. And you're going to see the Bitcoin miners had a totally reasonable day. We've seen days where Bitcoin was down 1.5% and the Bitcoin miners, the bottom fell out. That's not happening anymore. In fact, Marathon was green, up 2.2%. Cypher was up 1.5%. A third of these were actually green, and even a lot of the ones that weren't. Hut was down 0.5%. Hive just a little over 0.5%. TeraWolf down 0.8%. So, some of the smaller ones here. DigiHost was up 4.5%. Now, Stronghold down 8.5%. Gree down 4.7%. We've talked about some of those at length. Those are micro-cap, nano-cap stocks. I'm more looking at the price action near the top of this list. These are the 8 large, not necessarily in perfect order. These are the 8 largest by market cap, and then, we go down from there. The larger Bitcoin miners, I think, are behaving very, very well.
Tom, I'm going to ask you the question because no one ever believes the answer. Did you sell this week?
Absolutely, positively not. No. I did not sell this week. I'm trying to think if I bought anything this week. I don't think I did. I may have bought, I think I stand corrected. I might have bought a little bit. There were a couple of times where Bitcoin was dipping, so I think I bought a little bit of BitX. I don't think I bought any Bitcoin miners. I made almost no purchases this week. And I've been talking about, so everybody remember, we're all at different phases of investing in our overall portfolio. In this portion of our portfolio, I'm multiple years deep into investing in this. So to me, there wasn't really a lot of buying opportunities this week. So I don't think I bought any Bitcoin miners, although I will tell you one that I think is, I'll tell you which one I think is the most undervalued. So we'll get to that in a minute out of all of them. But I certainly didn't sell anything. I'm not near that point yet, unless there's some massive shift in, what's going on in the world or in Bitcoin or, some other outside force. But I don't foresee that. Sour Melon Gaming, member for 14 months, said Bitcoin fees tank, bad GDP, ETFs drying up, GBTC selling. There's new drama every week to kill any momentum we get. Sorry for negativity. Happy 14 months. Happy 14 months to you too. But what I would counter with that, Sour Melon Gaming, is look at that list you just rattled off of negative things yet. I'm going to go to the Bitcoin one day. We remain sideways. We are inside of a range. We'll talk about this range more, but we remain completely sideways. And the Bitcoin miners have had their best 2 weeks in 4 months. In the last 2 weeks, inside of all the things that you just mentioned. And we'll look at some of those things because there have been a lot of negative forces for Bitcoin. I think the price action on Bitcoin has been extremely strong given, that list that you just rattled off. Here we are, hanging out sideways. And one of the things, that I'll add to that list is we've had, a massive run up in the DXY. Now, we've had a little bit of relief on that lately. But, in this last couple of month period, as we've gone sideways, the DXY went ballistic in that period of time. The DXY, for those of you who don't know, is the strength of the US dollar versus foreign currencies. And there's usually, it's not a perfect relationship by any means, but there's usually an inverse relationship. As the dollar gets stronger, Bitcoin gets weaker, the Bitcoin miners get weaker. It's not good for the equity markets. It's really not good for anything when the DXY gets too high. We'll look at that later too. I've got that chart up. And it's still very high. Like I said, we had a little reprieve, but today it popped again. So, there's been every force under the sun and a chorus of voices talking about, Bitcoin crashing. So there's two different narratives going on out there. Bitcoin's going to crash, in the short term, and Bitcoin's going to go to the moon, right after that. So I think those are the two big things that are out there. What are you seeing, George? What are you hearing?
Yeah, I think everybody thinks it's going to take 8 weeks before we start to really see a pump in Bitcoin. But I think that with the current world economics going on the way they are, any day, if it took off, I would not be surprised. Any day.
If Bitcoin
could
took
be this
off.
weekend. Yeah, anything could happen right now.
I agree, and it's super hard. This is the hardest part of this whole thing is, even inside of a single day, they cause people to panic and get... There have been a couple of days this week where by the end of the day, everything was fine or everything was up. But, early in the day and in the middle of the day, things were through the roof. And by things I'm talking about, even the Bitcoin miners had some days, Cleanspark had a day where it was down 6, 7, 8% and it ended, in the green. And, it wasn't the only one. So we've seen a lot of volatility even intraday. They're trying to scare people out of this space, and as Bitcoin, we always talk about the volatility. Let me just take a break and get to Midway, who is a member. Thanks for being a member, and thanks for the super chat. Midway said, with IRON's price-to-book ratio not too much above 1, currently, are you considering buying more shares of IRON and adding to your position? So I don't know. I do have a position in IRON. It's the last one that I built out a position in. It's my smaller of those positions. I do think it's still at a really good... I think it's been underperforming. So, that's not the one that I was going to say is the most undervalued, but to me, maybe that might be second most undervalued. And, that's, again, not financial advice. That is my opinion. And this changes as these things move so volatilely. Every Friday that we could make a different list of which Bitcoin miner you think is the most overvalued, which one's the most undervalued, because of these dramatically different moves that some of them have from week to week.
Tom, this is crazy. This poll is 50% basically for Marathon.
Who will get to 50 exahash first? So I will tell you, my vote would be Marathon for sure. I don't even think this is a question.
I'm going to go on the limit. I'm going to say Riot, by the way. I'm still sticking with Riot. If they can find the holes in the wall, they will win.
Well, let's get to why Marathon is out in the lead on this. So Marathon's in first place at 47. Cleanspark's in second place at 32. Riot was in third place. And, Marathon is not my number one high conviction play, but they did put this press release out today. Marathon Digital Holdings increases 2024 hash rate target to 50 exahash. So, and I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head, I think Riot might have bumped theirs up to 38. CleanSpark and Riot are somewhere between 30 and 38. I can look them up, but neither one of them is targeting 50 by the end of the year. This jumps Marathon just from their own personal target. Now, they can target whatever they want. The question always is with these Bitcoin miners is, what are they actually going to do? Are they going to execute this plan? And I will say...
So, I'm going to tell you why I picked Riot.
Go.
Because Marathon has a lot of building to do. And we all know what happens when people build.
They're right. They're trying to make a switch. I think that inside of this, and so one of the things I don't like about Marathon's press releases, and this is a classic example, I don't want to use the word dodgy, but they just seem to be lacking in specificity versus some of the other Bitcoin miners do when they put out these press releases. So, like, for instance, they say, give me a second here to find. Based on current machine orders and available capacity following its recent acquisitions, Marathon now expects to grow its operations to approximately 50 exahash by the end of 2024. So, they say current machine orders, but they never really did a press release to say what those machine orders are. I think we all know what they are, but they didn't say them. They didn't say, we bought 100,000 of this machine. We have an option for another 150,000 more past that.
But Tom, weren't they going to buy their own machines?
I mean, in a sense, yes, because they're buying machines from a company that they have a relationship with. I think they have a % ownership in. So it's not, it's not their own machines as in Marathon's machines, but it's a related party, I guess you would say. And I think it's for that reason that they don't disclose the details as much. I don't know if they want to keep some of this proprietary and they don't want to talk about it. But as an investor, you can see, like this press release, that poll we just had should have been, 90% of the people thinking it's Marathon, because none of the other companies are even targeting to within 10 exahash of this by the end of the year. Marathon has put out that this is their targeted December 31st. So, I mean, by all accounts, if they get anywhere near their plan, they should be first. But people are not as confident for...
Go ahead. Mr. English said, what if the Marathon buys another miner? They don't say that they're going to do that, so that's why I didn't.
They specifically say they're not going to do that to get to the 50 exahash. Now, they have talked at great length about doing that in addition to that, so that's a fair point, right? They could get beyond 50 exahash if they execute this part of their plan, plus go do some acquisitions. So they then say, there's one more important sentence here. Okay, so they say, blah, 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 they're going to double from the beginning of the year. So they came into the year just under 25. This will get them to 50, but where's the part I was looking for? Okay. The new target represents approximately 100% growth in hash rate during 2024, and this is the part I was looking for, and is fully funded based on Marathon's current liquidity position. So they have a $1.5 billion at-the-market offering, and they're basically saying they are already fully funded to get to 50 exahash right now. You must have got a different copy. Here's the other thing that they did disclose that I think is going to be important, and there's 6 or 8 companies that I think stand a shot at getting in this neighborhood. This sentence says, by deploying state-of-the-art equipment, so again, state-of-the-art equipment, they don't say what it is. I think we all know what it is, but they're being intentionally non-specific. By deploying state-of-the-art equipment and our own proprietary technology, so they have their interface with this equipment, they say increases their efficiency. We also believe that we can improve our fleet efficiency and approach 21 joules per terahash as we grow to 50 exahash. So that's a magic number. I think there's 8 companies that it is their goal by the end of this year, or some of them may roll over and miss into the first quarter of next year, to get somewhere between 21 and 24 joules per terahash. I think that's going to be the new success equation number. A lot of these companies were at 35 joules per terahash or even more than that. Just over the last 6 months, the whole global hash rate, I think, is 35 or maybe even more than 35. Now, interestingly, we'll get to some numbers later. Because of the price of Bitcoin and the fees, we have not had a drop-off in the global hash rate. In fact, it continues to grow. So I do want to spend time later looking at exactly that, because that's never happened before. So this is new. We are now through the halving, and the global hash rate is up. So there was no days. In the past, there have been anywhere from a couple of weeks to a couple of months where there was a pullback. Maybe at some point this is still ahead. Maybe there will be a pullback. But at the moment, there's got to be machines that need to come off the network at some point. But they may be getting replaced faster than they're coming off of the network. So, and we can see with these massive orders and these gigantic growth plans, and these are just the publicly traded companies. So, this is a new phenomenon.
What do you think our break even is now on these miners with these cost per coins?
Well,
you think they just doubled or no?
No, I don't think that I don't think the cost per coin has even close to doubled. And it's going to take some time. So every single month for the next 6 or 8 months, the cost per coin is going to change. For the companies that are doing it right, it should get better and better. It's going to, obviously at first it's going to get worse. We just went through the halving, but the fees, we'll go to a chart. I'll do that right now. The fees are still quite high. So you're seeing this is the latest and greatest. So anywhere from, this was only a half a Bitcoin. And by the way, only, that is historically considerably higher. 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 used to be a great fee. So this is the small one. We're still seeing 1.0, 1.8. So these are ranging anywhere from a half of Bitcoin to 2 Bitcoin. So those are still very high. And there's a better graph that shows exactly what's going on here. So historically, you can see this is the 5% line. The Bitcoin fee, and this is just the last 3 months. If I zoom out to the last 3 years, the amount of fees as a percentage of the total reward has fluctuated anywhere from 1% on the low end to 5% on the high end. Well, this went through the roof. We had our all-time highest percent fees at on the day of the halving. This popped up to over 75% of the total reward, so the total reward being the newly minted Bitcoin plus the fees collected. So that means the fees were significantly more than the newly minted Bitcoin rewards. So that was at 75. It's come back down to earth, but even now it's still at 19%. Historically, this has been 1 to 3%. Popping up to 5% has been great. So this is the 3 month, but if I go to the 3 year, you'll see like all of these times, this is 1, 1.5, 1, 2, 3. So that's normal. And every once in a while, and we know there have been, with the introduction of ordinals, all of a sudden we've had a couple of times where these spiked. Then the runes came out simultaneous with the halving, and that caused a massive spike. So some of these second layer things are causing a lot more transaction demand, and it's causing the price, it's causing the fees to go up. Obviously, the beneficiary of that are the Bitcoin miners. So, that's where, your original question, George, this is helping mitigate, and it's one of the reasons a lot more machines may be staying online for longer, and we didn't see this mass exodus of machines and a big drop-off in the exahash rate. These fees now go back
Tom
to
has
3
that
months.
soothing voice. He puts me to sleep.
Uh-oh.
I just finally got over whatever. So I came back to Atlanta, Georgia early, and I haven't been back here for 4 years. And the allergies have kicked my butt. Sorry.
Yeah, you haven't been back in allergy season.
Yeah, oh my goodness. I am not coming next year. Nope. Sometime in May.
I see Midway saying it looks like Bitfarms and Iron can get their joules per terahash down into the 21s by the end of the year. So right. So those are a couple who have already talked about getting them down. There's several more past that are going to have a dramatic, and that's why I say between 21 and 24. And I think, if you can get down under 24, I think you're going to be in good shape through this halving. So it's the companies that, there are some companies that haven't made any plans to change. So they're still at 30 or 35 or 38. That's not going to get it done this time around. For those companies, that profit margin, as the network, we see the global hash rate continue to grow. So let's take a look at that really quickly. But first, this commercial interruption. If you guys could please smash the like button. It makes a huge difference for the stream in real time. We're doing this ad-free again. So just please help us. We got 62 likes. Let's get to 100. We're going for 500. We're at 62. So much appreciated. Thank you guys for joining us. Hello, and to all the members also. Thanks for joining us here this Friday of what I think was a decent week. I know I feel people getting lulled and bored, and some people intraday getting scared and leaving. But if you look at the price action of the Bitcoin miners, this is going to be the second week in a row. I want to look at last week's price action, and then this is going to be the second week in a row. All right, so this was last year, 2023, so that's not what I was looking for. So last week, week over week, so this was as of last Friday. You can see Bitcoin last week, not the one that just finished, the week before. Bitcoin was down 4%. 15 of the 19 Bitcoin miners outperformed Bitcoin last week. I think you're going to see a very similar chart this week. Particularly the larger Bitcoin miners were all up on the week this week. Another week where Bitcoin was down again week over week. So this is 2 weeks in a row where Bitcoin's down week over week. Now, it is still within its trading range, but for both of those 2 weeks, you're going to see a lot of the Bitcoin miners are going to be in the green again. So we're now putting 2 weeks in a row together where the Bitcoin miners are outperforming Bitcoin. And that ends a 16-week trend of dramatically the opposite. So if we go to, even including that week that we just looked at, as of last Friday, Bitcoin was up 48% in 16 and a half weeks. And only Cleanspark was in the green. Everything else was down between 20 and 76%. So this was a 16 and a half week period. Now call it 15 and a half weeks because last week was good. And I think you're going to see with this weekend update, this week was a very good week. Again, it doesn't feel like it. This is feeling a little bit boring, but there is a, in my opinion, there's a very clear shift in the performance of the Bitcoin miners over the last 2 weeks. Last week, I felt confident we had bottomed. So you never like to call a bottom, but it felt like full capitulation on the Bitcoin miners. And we were hopeful. We talked at the beginning of the week, if Bitcoin miners can outperform Bitcoin again this week, I do think we will have turned the corner. Now, that doesn't mean it's straight to the moon. And as you can see, even intraday some days, there's 8 or 10 or 12% fluctuations. So, people can still get scared out of these on a daily basis. But, for those of you who are buy and hold, and, if you're swing trading these also, there have been some. And I'm not doing it. I'm just too busy doing other things, and I don't want, without really staying focused on this, I don't like to do that. But there have been some phenomenal swing trade opportunities for those of you who have experience and are comfortable and understand how to do that. But always be careful swing trading, and obviously be careful. These are very volatile. People are sick of me saying that, but by the same token, I see so many complaints about, the volatility. So, that's dueling comments. Like, quit telling us they're volatile, and then, like, people are shocked that there's big volatility. So,
yeah, and then the one day you don't say anything. You're just a paid shill.
Oh, I get a lot of those comments, too. That's right. So, a lot of companies have set their earnings date, and there's some of these that I'm looking forward to big time. I will tell you that Riot set their earnings date and a conference call. So there have been a lot of times where they just out of the blue reported earnings, didn't do a conference call. So I am looking forward to hearing. I think that bodes well, the fact that they've set a date, they're having a conference call. I feel like we may hear some good things on that conference call. Just to name a few, Bitfarms has set their date. So it's all going to be over approximately the next 2 weeks. Bitfarms, Riot, Marathon, CleanSpark, HUT, I think Cypher put out an announcement. So, and it will be the vast majority of the large Bitcoin miners we're going to get information on. So over the next 2 weeks, we're going to get the monthly operational update from April, which I think is going to be very positive surprises for most of these. And then we're going to get first quarter results. And those are probably going to be the best results of the year for several of these Bitcoin miners because, Bitcoin had such a run. And of course, the entire first quarter was pre-halving. So, the rest of the year, the rewards cut. So I think we're going to see a lot of good information come out on these Bitcoin miners. So, some of this turn and the bottoming out and the miners starting to perform better, I think might be in anticipation, not so much of the April results, which I think are going to be a pleasant surprise based on the monumental fees over a short period of time, but more so the first quarter results, which I think are going to be very good for a lot of these Bitcoin miners. Some other ones, I'm very much looking forward to HUT's quarterly earnings call. That's another company that I think can shed a lot of light on what they're doing versus, my feelings of my understanding of where they're at right now. Iris Energy, I don't think has announced a date, but they did announce they will be doing a quarterly update. So that's another one that I think that they're going to have a very good quarter, in my opinion. So over the next 2 weeks, massive, massive information coming at us from the Bitcoin miners. Let's see what else is going on. How are you doing, George?
I'm looking for something for Bitfarms in Paraguay. I haven't found anything.
Okay, so I got a couple of things on that. Paraguay can't decide, they can't decide whether they absolutely love Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners or they want to ban it. So, and I'm not trying to spread FUD. It's looking more and more and more like, and from the beginning, we've been saying on this channel, it seems highly unlikely, but I couch that by saying, I don't live in Paraguay. I don't understand the politics of Paraguay, so I'm not going to sit here and guess as to what's going to happen. But I will go to a few articles of people who, have weighed in on this, who certainly know more than I do. Okay, so Paraguay Congress debates to make Bitcoin legal tender. So they have 3 different bills in right now regarding cryptocurrency, and one ranging from banning Bitcoin mining all the way to another one making it Bitcoin legal tender. So they're all over the place on this. Paraguay Congress, and again, this article came out 2 days ago. So just for perspective. Paraguay's Congress is currently scrutinizing 3 bills concerning the regulation and management of cryptocurrencies within the nation. The proposals originating from both the Senate and the Chamber of Deputies aim to establish regulatory framework. So let's see if they can summarize these. In the Chamber of Deputies, one bill for the introduction of a digital version of the national currency. So, and the acceptance of Bitcoin as legal tender. So that would be very, pro-cryptocurrency. But the proposal highlights the need for stringent regulations to mitigate risks like money laundering, tax evasion, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. One bill proposes a temporary 180-day ban on crypto-related activities. So that's the one we've talked about the most. There have been several senators, one in particular that I'll get to an article next, that's come out diametrically opposed to this. And, from everything and everyone that we hear, this seems highly unlikely, but, it's still sitting there. The Senate's temporary prohibition intends to address urgent issues such as illicit electric connections by crypto mining operations, which have reportedly led to a significant electricity losses. So, another legislative proposal emphasizes the need for local control over the cryptocurrency industry. It requires all individuals and entities involved in the intermediation marketing to register and comply with national regulations. So a lot of stuff going on in Paraguay. It still seems to me, and maybe we can do another poll, most of the people that have watched this channel feel like Paraguay is not going to do a 180-day moratorium or temporary ban on mining Bitcoin. It is, you can see, this article was from 2 days ago. This is still on the table. I have said from the beginning, it just seems extremely unlikely. It seems counterintuitive. There's just no sense in my mind to this happening. So, while I doubt that it's going to happen, we don't know until we know. But then there's this article. Paraguay's senator advocates Bitcoin mining as a, quote, gift from heaven for the country's economy. So here you've got a senator, forget a 180-day ban. This person's saying the Bitcoin mining's a gift from heaven to Paraguay. And this article, I'm not going to read you the whole thing, but it's what we've talked about 3 or 4 times on this channel. They have such a monumental excess amount of energy that they are selling to their neighbors, Brazil, and they stand to basically sell that same energy, which they can't use themselves. So they can either waste it and get nothing for it. They can sell it to Brazil for, pennies on the dollar. The price that they're selling it to the Bitcoin miners in this article talks about somewhere between 400 to 500% more than they're charging Brazil for that same energy right now. And,
wow.
And they have a monumental excess of energy. So that's why I say this all doesn't add up to me. I think this senator is more on track with what direction this is going to go in. And again, this is just my opinion, but why wouldn't they, instead of waste energy, and why wouldn't they sell it to a willing buyer that's going to come in, and these publicly traded Bitcoin miners, we know they're going to come in, create infrastructure, create jobs, pay money to buy the electricity. So it's a boom for Paraguay if they do this the right way. And, again, I don't know what their other motives are, or what, I don't know what I don't know. And I don't live in Paraguay.
Can you imagine if some hedge fund dude called up or flew down somebody in Paraguay, say, hey, let's go out to dinner. And say, hey, do me a favor, can you just spread this around? Just tell me, it's really not good, and but just do that for about 60 days. Well, and then you can flip the switch.
And they did more than that. They introduced legislation.
I'm telling you, that's what I think happened. They're having fun with it to make the money. Because poor Bitfarms.
Midway saying some of the most pro-Bitcoin senators seem to not be the majority party, but I'm not sure if that actually matters. So this is why I say, I'm not going to come on here and say, oh, that's not going to happen.
Bitcoin knows no party.
I don't. Well, and this is a source of revenue for their government. They have the energy. So I've given you my best estimate. I understand.
And it's clean, isn't it? From some type of falls or something?
It's all hydroelectricity. maybe the third largest hydroelectric dam in the world. It's like 7 gigawatt dam, energy producing. So, don't quote me on that. I would have to look that up. That's just recollection off the top of my head from an article I read a week or two ago. But it is, it's a gigantic source of energy. I will tell you this, 85% of the energy that dam produces, Paraguay has no use for, and they don't use it themselves. So they have a glut of excess energy, and it's clean energy. It's hydro, electricity. So, those are some of the...
Would you move to Paraguay? Would you move there?
Would I personally move there? No.
Yeah.
I would
It'd
not.
be fun.
I may go visit if somebody tells me it's a good place to visit. But I'm not moving. Is anybody from Paraguay or the neighborhood?
Dude, they don't even have a coast.
DEFCON 2 is saying it's a 14 gigawatt dam. So I was saying 7. So he's saying it's actually twice that size. So, yeah, I mean, to put it in perspective, Riot is building the largest Bitcoin mining infrastructure facility in the world, and that's 1 gigawatt. So, just to show you how much energy they have there. And Paraguay is a country of only 6.5 million people. So they just don't have a giant demand for energy, but they have a lot of it.
It's funny how just owning the right piece of dirt makes all the difference in the world.
No doubt about that. What's our poll that we've got going right now? Bitcoin to 100K by the end of 2024. So if you haven't voted, feel free to vote. That is our poll that is up right now. Right now, it's overwhelmingly going in one direction. I still see, despite the pessimism in the short term, like I'm saying, I see so many people predicting, a short term, gloom and doom. I see article after article. But if you look at the bigger picture, there's still a lot of people predicting 100,000, 150,000 by year end, and then numbers multitudes bigger than that by the end of, the next 18 months, which would be the peak of this Bitcoin cycle. So I still see a lot of optimism. We will go through, maybe we can do this next. The ETFs, really, the last 3 weeks, the ETFs have slowed way down. And I think this is just a natural progression. These were the most successful, particularly BlackRock and Fidelity, but also Bitwise and ARK Invest. That's 4 Bitcoin spot ETFs, and we know there were several more past that. Those 4 are like 4 of the 10 most successful ETFs of any kind ever launched. So, I mean, there was, massive momentum going into this. So the fact that there's a little bit of a pause, things ran up before the halving. We're taking a beat, and in the middle, while there's a pause, Grayscale continues to, jettison Bitcoin. So I want to pull that up and see what they're at, because they are now, and then I'm going to look at some other detail numbers on this. Did I blow right by it? Okay, total Bitcoin. They are now down to 300,000 Bitcoin. So when the trust turned into an ETF, they had 620,000 Bitcoin. So in the 3 months since then, they have sold 320,000 Bitcoin. That is a massive downward pressure on Bitcoin. Yet, in that time, Bitcoin has run up. Bitcoin was hanging out at around $41,000 pre these ETFs. So it's still bouncing. It's at around 64,000 right now. It's bouncing anywhere from 62 to 71,000 is its current trading range. It's lately been at the lower end of that range, more between 62 and 67. But, that's still up dramatically from just 3 months ago when these came into existence. And in that time, Grayscale has gotten rid of more than half of the Bitcoin that they have in this fund. 10% more is going to go away automatically because they have applied for another ETF with a, a fee that's 10% of this fee instead of a 1.5% fee. And that's one of the reasons the mass exodus here. They're going to have another ETF that's a 0.15% fee. 10% of this Bitcoin is going to get automatically transferred into that ETF. So, if that were to happen tomorrow, that would be 30,000 Bitcoin. And the reason they're doing that, and I'm surprised it's only 10%, is that's going to be considered a non-taxable event. So people are going to get to move their money into an ETF with a better fee structure and not have to pay the taxes of selling it out of Grayscale and, buying into Fidelity or BlackRock. That's a taxable event. So the 10% that gets auto moved into that will be a non-taxable event. It just seems like this Grayscale is going to go to zero. However long it takes, there's just no sense in this thing. It's a real mystery to me because they were driving the bus on this ETF thing, and now they're, monumental, massive outflows. So I got a couple of charts. So just for instance, this was yesterday. So obviously we don't have today's yet. So, and this is from HODL 15 Capital. So there's two columns here. Inflows, which is really outflows for the most part yesterday. This is in dollars and this is in number of Bitcoin. So yesterday, BlackRock had zero. That is the first day, I believe that was the first or second day ever that they did not have an inflow. So BlackRock has been just constant inflow. They've been averaging $220 million of inflow a day since these spot ETFs started. Yesterday was zero. You're going to see a lot of zeros. Franklin had 2 million or 29 Bitcoin. And then you had three companies that had outflows yesterday, not including Grayscale. Grayscale, another giant outflow day of $139 million. So that's almost $200 million of outflow yesterday. And if we go to the chart yesterday, this was yesterday. So I don't know if you could see, I can zoom in. Yesterday was green. Bitcoin was green yesterday. So with this, this is one of the worst days the spot ETFs have had, and Bitcoin still went basically sideways and a little bit up inside of this move. If we look at the last 3 weeks, you're going to see most of the days are outflows. So if you total all of these up, plus the day we just looked at that's not on here, in the last 3 weeks, not including whatever happened today, and we'll find those numbers out later tonight, there's been $500 million of outflows out of these ETFs in the last 3 weeks. So when you consider that one of many things working against Bitcoin, if you go back to this chart, I mean, this is pretty strong price action for that kind of outflows. So that's why I'm encouraged by the price action. And I'm not nervous about these ETFs right after the monumental amount of inflows that they had, breaking every record under the sun. Yes, there's some people that were, this allows some people a very easy vehicle to day trade or swing trade Bitcoin. I think a lot of people got in post halving and there was a little bit of a sell the news scenario. And these ETFs make it a lot easier, right? If you own a Bitcoin, you guys all know that, the fee structure is such that, you're not necessarily buying and selling your Bitcoin. I don't know if we lost George. We'll see if he pops back in. I'll try and get him on the phone if he doesn't pop back in a second. Maybe he lost his connection. But I do think you're going to see, so we don't know how long this is going to persist. We're definitely in a very sideways trajectory. Dating back to really this red line here at $61,900 dates back to March 2nd. So we're coming very close to 2 full months of pretty much sideways price action, right? We haven't, in those 2 months, we had one day close below this line of support and the next day, reversed right back above it. So we've been trading very comfortably with a strong floor in my mind at just under $62,000. And then I don't really have this yellow line is 69,000. That's the previous all-time high from the previous cycle. And you can see, maybe we should put a line in here, and we'll get a little more scientific about this, but somewhere in this area, let's make that a solid line. Somewhere around there has been resistance. And I'll work on that over the weekend and maybe make it a little more scientific than that. But somewhere, between this red line down here at just under 62,000 and this green line up here at 71,000, that's been resistance and support for the most part. We popped above that one time to set a new all-time high. So our new all-time high for Bitcoin is, and let me just pull the screen down a little, 73,835 according to this chart. So, every chart will vary a little bit. So it's just under $74,000 is our new all-time high for Bitcoin. I don't see George. I may take a 10-second break and just try and see if he just lost his connection or what. Sending him a text. All right, so we'll wait to hear back from George. In the meantime, if you could do us a favor and smash the like button, we would appreciate it. We are now over 100 likes, so thank you everybody very much for getting us to 100 likes. Now let's get to 200. It does help the stream out in real time. And I do want to help spread the stream because, we've demonetized ourselves. So, the algorithm is not going to be too aggressively spreading the word here. So hitting the like button is going to be a big help to us. Bitcoin to 100K before the end of the year. So I can end this poll. It's a runaway. 83% think that Bitcoin will get to $100,000 by the end of the year. And that's really not that far from here, right? It looks like it's far, far away. Well, and we've pulled back. So that's a 56% increase from where we are right now. So that would be a really good result when you look at it in those terms. And it would be my opinion that if Bitcoin can take that 56% run, I do think we've turned the corner with the Bitcoin miners, and obviously their economics at these higher numbers at 70 or 80 or 90 or 100,000, the economics get significantly better for the Bitcoin miners. So I think, that's where we're going to start to see the run. The question is, in previous cycles, sometimes we've had to wait 3 months, 6 months, 9 months before we get this run. I think we're way ahead of that this time. I think we've already begun the run. Welcome back, George.
Oh, did you see me gone?
Yeah, we were. Did we see you gone?
I bet he needed my help.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you lost.
He's going nuts. We're opening the pool this weekend.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Sweet.
You got another poll we want to do?
Let's see. I'm going through my list here that I wrote down. So, all right, give me a minute to think about a poll.
Okay.
If you got one, or if anybody wants to recommend the next poll. I mean, we haven't done our standard issue poll. What's the next move in Bitcoin, up or down? We're getting very near our floor. So how about is our support at $62,000 going to hold? Or do people think we're going lower? Because this has been, we're 2 months into this line of support. I believe this line is going to hold. I still have this, gold or brown box, whatever color you want to call it. This would represent, from our high that we set back in the middle of March, the top of this box would be a 20% pullback. The bottom of this box would be a 25% pullback. So, 20 to 25% pullback for Bitcoin is a very typical event. We've already had, from the top to the bottom, over a 19% pullback. So a big part of me feels like, you know what? The last 4 pullbacks that we've had in the last 17 months have been anywhere from 20 to 23%. So is this 19, within the margin of error? Was that the pullback? I feel like it was. So I don't know that we're going to retest these lower numbers, but, to George's point, the volatility is real. So if we do, I think it'll be, this candle right here on April 19th is a classic example. We had some geopolitical stuff. We had a scare. We ran to the downside and then immediately found support, right at this line from a few days earlier and at this line back from March 5th and turned back around and ran up. And that day, this giant candle wick to the downside ended up in a green day that day. So I do think we have super strong support in this area. So my opinion is it's going to hold, but I'd like to know what you guys think. And obviously only time will tell.
I should be on the call tomorrow, guys. Sorry, the last 3 weeks have been rough for me. This pollen got me.
Yeah, you have been under the weather in a big way.
I stared death in the face, guys. I said, not now.
I feel like that is possibly an overstatement of the situation.
Not today.
Not today.
Not until Bitcoin hits 1 million.
Well.
You know what's funny? I put a sticker on my car about Bitcoin. This is interesting. No one's ever asked me about it, ever.
What is it just like the Bitcoin
no, it's
logo?
It's BAP for Bitcoin Advocate Privacy. And it's
Does
just,
it have
anybody
a picture of a Bitcoin? Because
no, it's
I'm
anybody
in a space and I don't know what that is.
No, but it has a Bitcoin on it. It has a picture of a Bitcoin on it.
Okay, all right.
So I would think that somebody would say something. I mean, I'm driving all over Atlanta. I drive freaking thousands of miles a week, and I still haven't heard anything.
Nothing. But you know what? That's good news, because that means even with all of this price action, as we just recently set a new all-time high, there's still that many people out there that are still oblivious as to what's coming. And
I'm oblivious. I just have a lot of money in it.
You are not oblivious.
Those guys would all agree with me. You don't understand. Darren's like, yep, he's oblivious.
That's an outrage. Gold, silver, Bitcoin, they're all acting the same as the DXY climbs. When it rolls over, all three go to new all-time highs. I mean, gold and silver have been, I'm going to go to a chart. This is almost never the case, but we're in one of those moments where if you look year to date, so this is the 4 major U.S. indexes, the 2 largest cryptocurrencies, obviously Bitcoin and Ethereum, and the 2 largest commodities, gold and silver. If you compare all these, look at the indexes. The S&P 500 up 4% year to date. Again, this is as of last Friday. It doesn't include this week. And this week they were up. S&P up 4%. The NASDAQ up 1.8%. The Dow up less than 1%. The Russell down almost 4%. As the indexes are doing this, you've got gold up 16% and silver up almost 21%. These are your good performers. Now, obviously, we're in that part of the cycle where, the cryptocurrency is going to keep doing its thing. So I would suggest that, in my opinion, this is going to be a runaway. I don't know which one's going to win, Bitcoin or Ethereum. I think Bitcoin will outperform Ethereum this year. Bitcoin dominance is still high. We're not to that part of the cycle yet, but look how competitive silver and gold is. I mean, these are spectacular numbers. Now, I understand I'm not really a silver and gold person, but historically speaking, this is about as good as it gets for silver and gold.
By the way, I'm bullets and Bitcoin.
Yeah. Well,
I am. I mean, And Vic, if someone's got to pull a gun, at least they got to go to my wallet and we got to do the whole transaction. So I got time. I'm gonna have options. Versus if you're carrying fiat, it's a one and done. You got to give them the money and you're out. With the wallet, I got to get to a computer. You're gonna have to get in the car. You know what I mean? It's gonna be a big ordeal to get that money. And if it's my time to go, say nice things about me, guys.
We'll miss you when you're gone, George. Although you're not going anywhere. So we got 45% of the people think 60 to 62,000 is going to hold. So let's get to a couple other things. There's a lot of other things going on.
Vic, I got to tell you a little story real quick. This is a true story.
I got pulled
over by a cop the other day, and he goes, "Do you got any guns in the car?" I looked him blank in the eye. I go, "Yeah. What do you need?" Sorry.
It's not a true story.
What do you need? I got it all. What do you need?
There's other big catalyst for Bitcoin next week.
Cake?
Hong Kong to debut Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs on April 30th. That is next Tuesday. So, there's a lot of stuff going in.
Better move it.
I think this is another one of those things. We'll see how much of a boost this is immediately, but Hong Kong, I think we looked it up. It's the 5th largest exchange in the world. This is a major exchange. A lot of money moves in and out of the Hong Kong exchange. And, there was an article I read that talked about potentially, over the course of the first year, $25 billion moving into these ETFs. So, there's a gigantic multiplier effect. That would be a gigantic boost to Bitcoin. So there's been some FUD out there. On the flip side of this, I don't want to just ditch this. We'll talk more about this, but there's the Mt. Gox money is still out there, and that is about $9 billion. I think it's about 140,000 Bitcoin that are finally going to be released. October 31st, I think, was the estimated date, and it looks like maybe some or all of it will be sooner than that. I want to get to Midway. Thank you for the super chat. Midway said, I think there's some potential value buying Ethereum here in the 3100s. It's at a 3-year low relative to Bitcoin, and Hong Kong's ETFs might help a lot. So that's a good point, Midway. Unlike the U.S., which only has a Bitcoin ETFs, in Hong Kong there's going to be Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. So that's a really good point. On the flip side, let me go. That leads right into. So this was an article this week, yesterday. U.S. SEC expected to deny the spot Ether ETFs next month, industry sources say. So they go on to talk about and go into great detail as the Bitcoin spot ETFs all got approved, surprisingly, on the day that everybody was targeting. Confidence was very high. There was a flurry of activity between the SEC and all the companies that were, had applications in. And they're saying none of that is happening right now. So it seems like this is now a remote possibility. There was a lot of confidence that this was going to happen in May. It looks like that is not going to happen. That doesn't mean it's never going to happen. I think a lot of people still expect the U.S. to have this happen by the end of 2024. Maybe that's a poll that we can do. Who expects a U.S. Ethereum spot ETF by the end of 2024? To me, that was a more realistic expectation. This May date seemed like, that always seemed like a pipe dream. I'm on record. I said that, every time we talked about it. Now, we haven't gotten there yet, so we could still be surprised. But all the signs are there that it looks like this is very unlikely to happen in May. So you can, this was an article you can read if you want. I'm not going to read you the whole thing, boring, but it basically talked about the fact that, the dialogue isn't there with the SEC, you know, trying to hone these applications to a point where they can be approved. And that's probably the biggest sign that it's not going to happen yet. But while that's not going to happen, let's go back, because we did just look at, where'd it go? Here we go. Oh, it's right there. So back to our original point, Hong Kong, we are going to get a Hong Kong spot ETF next Tuesday for both Bitcoin and Ethereum. So I think this is a potential catalyst. I also think we're going to see, to go back to this chart, this has been a run of red in the spot ETFs. I do not think this will persist. You know, there's going to be cycles where this dies, the activity dies down, and, you know, most of this, all of these days really, you'll see almost no red for all the other ETFs. It's a rare occasion that one of these other ETFs has an outflow. A lot of them do have days where they have no activity. This is all really Grayscale. You know, $130 million of outflow yesterday. So the net outflow was 120, which means all the other ones had plus 10. And that was actually 2 days ago. Yesterday was the first day where there were 4 in the red like this. So this was one of the roughest days. So, you know, this was a rough run. But again, even inside of this run, Bitcoin, you know, just continues to hang out and go sideways. You know, we're very at or around $64,000 for, you know, a few weeks here. We popped down under it and tested this line of support and ran right back up to it for, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is 9 days that we've been at or around $64,000 or above. So I think that's very strong price action. And that's the couple of weeks that the Bitcoin miners have done even better than that. So in this period of time where, you know, Bitcoin has pulled back a couple of weeks in a row inside of a range, the Bitcoin miners are doing the opposite. Midway saying legally the courts will probably eventually force the SEC to approve the ETH ETFs too, and I agree with that. DEFCON 2 saying the government has to argue that ETH is a security to shut it down. So they are still trying to make that argument. And I don't even, you know, I think we're going to get, I more tend to think that, you know, Gary Gensler, every step along the way, he's bucked the system here on cryptocurrency. And, you know, he hasn't really done anything until he's been put into a corner to make it happen. And he was losing with Bitcoin, and Bitcoin had a much, much, much stronger case than Ethereum, right? The SEC had long since given up and conceded that Bitcoin is a commodity, not a security. And there are some massive fundamental differences between Bitcoin and Ethereum. I think everybody knows, I believe that the cryptocurrency world works a lot better in the model that Bitcoin is in versus the model that Ethereum is in. But I understand there's different utilities, you know, and they do different things. I'm turning into a Bitcoin purist. I'm not all the way there, but I do think I'm a proof of work person. I just think the proof of stake model doesn't make sense.
I'm not, but my question is, do you think there'll be a XRP ETF before?
So this goes to, I was just, as you were asking me that, I'm reading DEFCON 2 saying they don't want crypto ETFs popping up one after another. So I agree with that, and they were super specific. When in the language where they approved the Bitcoin spot ETFs, they basically said, don't expect this to lead to future ETFs for other cryptocurrencies. I mean, they were really clear about that. Now, that doesn't mean it's never going to happen, but I do think they'll fight it every step of the way. And George, to answer your question, I think Ethereum will be before XRP. I mean, they've had it out for XRP forever, but I do have an article that we can go to if I left it open. Let me see if...
My internet did something funky, so I have to redo the poll.
So speaking of your beloved XRP, are you still in your... You still hold your XRP position?
Oh, I will never sell.
So Ripple says $10 million penalty is enough, and they reject the SEC's ask for a $1.95 billion fine in final judgment. So I'm just surprised. I really thought XRP would take off. If you look at this wording, right now the SEC has recommended a fine of, call it $2 billion as a final judgment. That would put this matter to rest. So at this point, it's now Ripple that's saying, no, we're not doing that. So they could, I don't want to say easily, that's the wrong word, but they could do this and just be done. But they're saying, hey, counterpoint, your $2 billion's ridiculous. We think $10 million's fair, not $2 billion. So I think they're going to duke it out. And that is like elongating the process of this. When this is done and in the rearview mirror, I just feel like it will be a good thing for XRP. So, it should be done. And I'm surprised the market doesn't view this as done, given that we do have, this is now totally quantified, right? There's already a $2 billion offer on the table for a final judgment. So it's not going to be worse than that. And this does seem like it's going to get resolved. And this has been years and years and years for the, this is Ethereum, they came after Ripple long before they came after Ethereum.
Thanks, Edmund. I'll tell you what. Why can't they just get in a room and hash this out?
Well, this gives
Right.
Gary Gensler every opportunity to be stubborn, right? He said 1.95 billion, and I'm sure they did not even want to do this. But at some point, they were forced to do something, and this is what they did. But counterpoint, this is kind of not in the same ballpark. My $2 billion fine, counteroffer $10 million. They're not in the same city, never mind the same ballpark. So I think this delays the XRP situation. And there's some other stuff going on with XRP. They're talking about introducing a stable coin, Ripple, into their system. So I don't know. There's still some uncertainty surrounding XRP, in my opinion. So a USA ETH Spot ETF by the end of the year. That is the current poll. If you're on a device where you're able to vote. And right now, the vast majority of people think we are not going to get an ETH Spot ETF even by December 31st, 2024. So 73% say not this year at all. So the flip side is the good news is that Hong Kong is getting one, but that is, and while that is a large exchange, it's dwarfed by the activity that would happen if the U.S. was to approve one. Crypto Golfer said it's been so many years that the use case for XRP has long passed. So I'm going to come back to that one when George gets back off of his work call that he's on, and we can discuss, because I know he still likes his XRP. Crypto Fever said, from day one, I've told George XRP is a bad investment. Better off putting that money into more Bitcoin at whatever spot price. So we got a couple of people that feel like XRP is not the way to go. I do know we have a couple other members that do like XRP. Andrew, who's a member as well, said XRP's all-time high is $3.84, never getting there again. So I don't know the answer to that. The only thing that I do know is we are not even close to the beginning of altcoin season, and everything other than Bitcoin for the purposes of altcoin season, all the other tokens are considered an altcoin. So I was surprised last time around at where things ran to. So, I will never say anything's impossible. I do think there's going to be a lot of these that go, that have gigantic runs. And whereas I personally don't think Bitcoin's ever going to have another crypto winter. Now, I thought that last cycle, and that was incorrect, right? We didn't have the full 80 to 85% pullback, but we had a severe crypto winter, and Bitcoin participated in that. The Bitcoin miners, got beat up badly in that process. So here I am again, feeling the same way. But I think there's, the adoption at this point versus 4 years ago, it's just night and day. So even though I think we'll always have more volatility, and, by always, I mean the next 10 or 15 years, I think that, in cryptocurrency, even Bitcoin, we're going to have more volatility than we do in the equity markets, in the other commodities. But I do think it will simmer down into, so we may have a bear market that follows this giant bull run that I'm anticipating. That's yet to be seen. Although we're already up hundreds of percent off the bottom, so we're in the middle of a bull run. But historically speaking, most of that run would be left ahead of us, not behind us, even from the point that we're at right now. So I could see, a 35 or 40 or 45% pullback in a bear market. I just don't think we're going to have an extended multi-year 70, 80 plus percent bear market for Bitcoin. For the altcoins, I think we could have multiple more cycles where we see that happening to the altcoins. I see Sebastian in the chat. Hello, Sebastian. Sebastian said, hi, Tom and George and everyone. Happy Friday. Happy Friday, Sebastian. Thanks for joining us. Oh, Sebastian said, Tom, the Bitcoin mining guy and I would love to have you on our Twitter space on one of these weekends. So, Sebastian, just so that you know, I'm just familiarizing myself with Twitter Space. I know it's a super simple product to use. I, for whatever reason, have been a little technologically challenged, but I would be glad to catch up with you guys. So we'll coordinate something and get in on doing a Spaces. That's something I talked to the members about getting involved in, and it seems like that's a popular thing. So I got to educate myself, get myself up to speed, and get over there with you guys, and we can talk. So thank you for the invite. I appreciate it.
You did what in the cup?
Huh?
You did what in the cup? Sorry, that was a good call, though. I'll tell you about it later. I don't even talk about cars. We should, man, we could go off about cars. That was somebody talking about cars.
Oh, boy.
I love cars. Yeah, we're trying to get Tom on Spaces. I went into a restaurant today and I go, hey, where are we? What town's this? And they say, no, I mean, are we on Earth? Is this Earth? People look at you really funny when you say Earth. Sorry.
Well, that's technically the correct answer. Crypto Fear said, we've been trying to get Tom on Spaces. A crypto golfer said, technically challenged, ? It's called boomeritis, Tom. You guys know how I love that. I am technically not a boomer, not that there's anything wrong with that. But
I didn't even get to say it. Tom's the Bitcoin maximus. I'm becoming an XRP maximalist.
Oh, we had some shade thrown your way while you were on the call.
Hang on, sorry.
Oh, all right. We'll get back to that. And Seth, yes, you're welcome to join us as well on the Spaces once I get my act together and get that going. Barry C said, I need a cigarette, but I'm afraid Miss Tom's massive hot news. Bye. I have no hot news. My news is they're they are doing a quarterly call. They put the date out, and I'm anticipating that. I feel like I'm hoping we get a lot more specifics on a few of these Bitcoin miners on their quarterly call. So, some of the ones I'm most looking forward to are Riot, which a lot of times hasn't even done a conference call. So they've put out a specific date. A lot of times it's just been...
They should do it on Spaces. That's where they should do it. That'd be awesome.
They can maybe... I don't know how that works. I'm the wrong technological person to even ask that question, so...
Can't even Tom get on Discord. He might be able to get on Discord. Sebastian, you know why I like XRP? Here's why I like XRP. I still today believe XRP will be the exchange for the SWIFT system across the whole world. I have not deviated from that. I'm still today believe that. And something has to replace it. And that's the speed that it moves. I mean, I could go on, and then everybody gets mad at me. So
that is the use case, though. That it's been so long that everyone's been arguing, about XRP, and that they've been at odds with the SEC. But the Ripple network is a way to move money cross country,
cross-border payments.
Exactly. So that's the use case. And, the system is already in place. There are people using the system. So, I don't know. There's a lot of nuances to this. I did a couple of deep dives. But
Sebastian asked, why would banks not do their own? Great question. And they will. They will do their own. But you also have a coin that's been around for 10 years. That has proven itself, that is, besides Bitcoin, is the only coin that has not been hacked. Now, a wallet did get hacked. Somebody will say it and bring it up. A wallet did get hacked. But it was not anything to do. And I believe that they were able to get those coins back. No one heard the end of that, did they? They were able to get those coins back to the original owner. How about that one?
I am not familiar with that.
Yes, they got the coins back. So... You have a coin that is proven itself. By the way, do you want me to go through all the ones that haven't?
So a couple of counterpoints, George, from some members. Andrew said, if anything, will it be the USDC? And then Stephen English said, I'm with you, George. I agree 100%.
The USDC is just is that the stable coin that BlackRock's behind?
Right. So the USDC is the stable coin. I'm not sure if they meant, are we going to have is the United States going to have its own token?
I think what would happen with that is going to be the BRICS doesn't like the fiat currency right now, and you're starting to see those problems rear its ugly head because there's people talking about the DXY right now. And the value of the dollar not being the true value of the dollar. It's more or less the value that the Fed is giving it. Hey, Crypto Fever, I agree. You're 100% right now. It doesn't mean you always will be that way.
So Crypto Fever's point was Solana has outperformed XRP.
Right. I have personal reasons why I don't like Solana. And I'll never really tell you why. I'm just not a big Solana fan. Just not.
Well, there's an awful lot of cryptocurrencies, so if you don't like that one,
right? And I don't. So here's what
20,000 for you.
I think what's going to happen is different coins, different, ISO 2022. Are going to have their place in different areas. Like, remember we were talking about this about probably a year ago? France is going to have one that's for maybe Europe. Then there's going to be one for like maybe South America, North America. And then, so they're going to all be regional. It gets even, you get to 12 districts, and you could actually start to have the 12 districts in the United States, break it down by that, and each coin. And then if you want to go outside your district, then you use XRP.
I see somebody saying a gold-backed stablecoin. I feel like fundamentally a stablecoin has to be pegged to a currency. You know, the two main ones are pegged to the U.S. dollar. It doesn't have to be the U.S. dollar, but that's what's been happening so far. But in order to keep, you know, they need to keep almost precisely a 1-to-1 ratio. And, you know, gold's a commodity. So, and
I agree. Gold is a commodity. It's another store of value, isn't it? I mean,
it's the ultimate store of value from the beginning of time until now. So, you know, I think a lot of us here feel like Bitcoin's the version 2.0, and, you know, everything that gold does, Bitcoin does better. I think that, but I also think, you know, gold's thousands of years into adoption, and Bitcoin's at, you know, 0.1% into its adoption. But that's all the more reason why, you know, a lot of people feel like, did I miss the run? Am I late? Is it over? You know, if you think that Bitcoin is, you know, a store of value and it's digital gold and, you know, it's got a fixed supply, et cetera, the network is secure, then, you know, there's an awful lot of very wealthy individuals that think Bitcoin is going to 7 figures and beyond over the course of time. Now, whether it takes 5 years, 10 years, 15 years to get there, even if it took 15 years to get there, if it got to $1 million, it would still be one of the great returns of all time.
Tom, just so you know, I believe it's going to infinity and beyond. Somebody
well,
said
that would be the
before.
ultimate return.
Infinity and beyond. Yeah, I think it's like I said, that God candle or whatever you want to call it, from when it goes to Satoshis, and no one talks about Bitcoin anymore. That's when Bitcoin becomes very powerful, and that will happen in our lifetime. I don't know when that will happen.
I see Duckman with
I saw that too.
Stronghold Digital Mining to the moon. Welcome, Duckman. Stronghold put out their numbers for the first quarter, if I'm remembering correctly, and they did have net income. So I did not do a deep dive on that yet. So I think, you know, I need to look at that a lot more before I truly fully understand what they're doing. But, you know, that was an encouraging sign. And the other thing was almost all their revenue was from Bitcoin mining. So over the years, they've been splitting that between selling energy versus mining Bitcoin. And, you know, with Bitcoin, with energy prices being what they are and with Bitcoin price being what it is, they've shifted to 99+% of their revenue coming from Bitcoin mining. My problem with them is, you know, massive amount of debt, small amount of exahash. I don't know how they get from here to where they need to go, but it seems like they might have had a decent first quarter. Kay earlier was asking, he thinks our live streams are too long, and he would like a poll. Are our live streams too long?
Wow, that's funny. We cut it at like 2 hours.
Yes. We get comments in the comments section from time to time. Your live stream is too long. So
I hate to say this, but you can just turn it off.
Right.
I'm not trying to be rude or nothing. You know what I mean?
Everybody's free to come and go whenever they want.
Damn it. Kay, you messed me up. I had a really good statement. Now I forgot it. You know I'm old. Getting cranky now.
Stay focused, George. Is our live stream too? So first of all, is the U.S. going to get an ETH spot ETF by the end of the year? We're at about 70-30. So I think we can call that poll. That 70% think no, 69% at the moment. So that's gotten a little closer. It was about 80%. It's gone down to 70%, but still the majority is substantial.
Very stable. These guys, crypto's always ripping on me for my XRP. I have always said that XRP will not get interested until 25, 26. I've always said that.
But you're going to hold.
I'm not even getting rid of it then. It doesn't matter.
Right, and if you believe that, it's the same theory that, you know, you're not trying to time it. You're going to wait for it.
Right, and the only way I would sell my Bitcoin is if it just went parabolic, like unreasonable, and then I would try to get in the next halving, the next cycle. I mean, if it goes to like 300,000, I got to get rid of it.
All right,
They
I'm
want to
doing
hear,
this.
oh, I got you.
4K for the a member is asking. So I will ask the question: is our live stream too long? Give me a second because I just
Dude,
typed it into
there's
the
been
wrong.
times when we're at 2 hours and 30 minutes and we're like, oh my goodness, we're just going and we're like, we got to get off. You know what I mean?
I know there's
We
times
get on tangents. I mean, we just do.
there's an awful lot to talk about, and so let's give feedback. I would be. Sometimes I'm surprised by the results of a poll, so I will do the poll and we'll see. We'll let the people speak. That's what this is all about.
That would
That's
be
what we're here
awesome.
for. What if everybody thinks it's too long? You get to
It's too long.
save you some time.
Yeah. I actually look forward to coming on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love these live streams. We do our members only live stream, and that we do a couple hours on that. We do a couple hours over here. And again, so I know some people pop in and out. And by the end of a week with Bitcoin, an awful lot has gone on. I still haven't gotten to half of the tabs I have open on stuff I wanted to talk about.
And then he closed the other half.
And then I accidentally close the other half periodically. That's right. So we never get to those. Okay, on an unrelated matter, because while I may think that Bitcoin is the center of the universe, and it's certainly the center of this channel, this was earnings week, and this was a wild and crazy week. There was some things that went to the moon. There was some things that got wrecked. For instance, Meta got wrecked. So once again, Zuckerberg has done. I almost feel like he does this to people. He did his thing where it's like, oh, we're going to invest monumental amount of money in artificial intelligence. And, while it's not going to pay off now, you've got to be very, very patient. Ultimately, it's going to pay off and it's well worth it. And investors don't like to hear about that. And I'm not saying he's right or wrong. I'm just, you guys, those of you who have been in the market long enough, investors don't want to hear about how this, you're going to spend tens of billions of dollars and ultimately it's going to pay off in the end. The investors have a very short-term viewpoint as they trade. So, the stock got whacked on that. At one point, it was down 15% in one day. It rallied off of that. That's not where it finished. But conversely, I just want to show you, this was Google's day today. And let me refresh because that wasn't. So, 10%. Google was up 10% today. This is its all-time high. So Google reported earnings and through the roof. So that makes they are now a part of the $2 trillion club. That is a club of 4 U.S. companies, 5 companies in the world. So I just want to go to this chart and I'll press refresh again. This is in the world. So Microsoft has now pulled away. Apple was the largest company for a long time. These two have traded places over the years. Microsoft is now the only $3 trillion company in the world. Then it drops to $2.6 trillion. But you're going to see, with today's price action, and I just want to switch to something else as well and press refresh, NVIDIA was off to the moon today as well. So with that, NVIDIA and Alphabet, or Google, are in a virtual tie for the 3rd largest company in the world. Those are the only 2 other companies in the world over $2 trillion. And you can see, 2.19 versus 2.14 trillion. They're in a statistical tie for 3rd. And there's not another. Saudi Aramco is just under $2 trillion. And then it goes down to Amazon at 1.86 trillion. And from there, it's virtually cut in half. Meta, or Facebook, which got wrecked this week, is at 1.1 trillion. And then no one else is even in the $1 trillion club. So, I know this is not what we normally talk about, but this is a significant, this list has, Google has, to have a 10% up day for the 4th largest company in the world, again puts it as one of the biggest up days for any
That's
company
amazing.
ever in history. Right, the amount of market cap they added in one day.
I know. How many companies did they add their market cap? You know what I mean? In their value of their market cap, how
Right.
many are not even at that?
There's only a handful of companies. Right. That means that they added over $200 billion to their market cap today. That's
So what's
bigger
that,
than 99% of
Yeah,
the companies.
yeah, 90, yeah.
And it's more than that. It's 99 point something percent of the companies are less than that. You'd be surprised. Look how fast you get. Walt Disney at 55 is at $200 billion. So they gained a Walt Disney. All the rest of the companies in the world are
They
less
gained
than
a Walt
that.
Disney.
In one day, they gained a Wells Fargo, right? They gained a McDonald's. It's
That's
crazy.
insane. You know what's funny is I didn't know Aramco is so big.
Yeah.
I had no idea. We buy from them. That's why I know who they are.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they used to be ahead of Google and NVIDIA.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I feel like I remember a time when they might have been number one at one point.
Oh, wow.
They've been near the top of this list. And then, you got Meta, and then you drop down to Berkshire Hathaway, which has been hanging around in the top 10 forever.
You know what's crazy is you could see some of these going up. I mean, I don't think these have tapped out.
I think it depends on, some of these will continue to run. It depends how the market does. There's the pessimism out there in the market. We had a nice day today.
Do you think this is a dead cat bounce?
I feel like the market's going to do well in 2024. So I'm going to answer no to that question. I think there's going to be volatility. I think there's a lot of geopolitical stuff going on, and we've seen multiple days where, we had flash crashes in Bitcoin. We had flash crashes in the equities. So far, things haven't escalated to a point. So, hopefully that continues. So that aside, I do think this is going to be a good year. I also think, despite conventional wisdom, I think we're going to get some nice rate cuts between now and December 31st. And I know that I'm almost the only person left who thinks that, but...
Well, I said we're getting at least one. I mean, we're getting... But my thing is they're stupid if they wait. But, I mean, look at everything.
I understand why they're waiting.
I do too.
I disagree with it. I understand what they're saying, but I think
it's just crazy that you could do one memo right now and inflation could go into check. It's like a second Carter administration.
Well,
we decided to open the pipeline back up.
It's all, we talked about this on the members only live stream.
The
this
5
is all
feet
oil
that we control. Is it? Did you know that? This is all over like 25 feet or 100 feet. It's nothing that much that they happen to own at the border. And all the rest of it's done.
Wisdom said, love you guys because this is a real discussion, not some hopium. Well, thank you.
You did what in your cap? Hopium? Get it? Sorry.
Crypto Fever saying he thinks 2 to 3 rate cuts still. So I that's what I think too. I think we're gonna get, and I know the market's pricing it out, and I have an article here somewhere talking about that as well. Let's just take a look at what the market thinks. But understand,
Edmund, thank you.
One of the things to remember is look how much the market has already changed its mind in a short period of time. 5 months ago, the market was pricing in between 5 and 7 rate cuts. And now it's pricing in, maybe 0 or 1. So the market can change its mind quickly. So just because that's how the futures are trading doesn't mean that's what's going to happen. So new inflation reading reinforces Fed's higher for longer stance. So that's been their mantra, higher for longer. No, not that they're going to be raising rates, but that they raised them here and they need to keep them here for a longer period of time. So we did get the core personal consumption expenditures. So PCE came out and was 2.8 year over year. That was the same level as February, but 0.1% higher than expected. So we continue to have these tiny misses to the upside. So that would be considered a miss, coming in hot. And, you know, the market seemed to shrug this off in a big way because, you know, we still did just fine here. And the market was up 1%. The S&P 500, the NASDAQ was up 2%. A lot of this had to do with great earnings ruled the day over, you know, this inflation number. And there's so many different inflation numbers, and these are so close to within the margin of error, in my opinion. So I feel like the market did shrug this off and had a, you know, a really nice day today. But most importantly, to your point, George, you know, crude oil is just under $84, and over 80 is bad news. So I've got some charts on this historically speaking.
They can't let it get to 100, or that's like the crushing point this time.
Inflation, oil is inflation.
Right.
And if you look at the data,
and it's in everything.
That's right. If you look at the data, when oil gets over 80, those are the only times inflation has spiked in the United States over the last really 50 years. So, you know, that's a pretty strong correlation. So that's the problem they need to solve, and it's got nothing to do with interest rates. Right? It's not, oil's not at $84 because of interest rates. That's its own
But here's the thing I can't believe, Tom. I'm in Atlanta. This real estate market is out of control. I mean, it's not there's hardly anything on the market. It is insane. I don't know if it's just that I happen to be in the county that's the fastest growing county in the United States, and I don't know why.
Well, that's why they call it
real estate.
Real estate is local, and
it's real.
And I don't know. You got residential, you got commercial. I think
I'm in shock,
that's
though.
Another shoe to drop out there. We did get, you know, yesterday.
Oh, commercial.
Yes, yesterday we got GDP here in the U.S. and it was a big miss. So it came in, I think, at 1.6. They were expecting 2.5. So that's a considerable miss. And so to me, you know, James Carville, I think it was 30, 40 years ago, said it's the economy, stupid, right? Everybody was debating this and that and, you know, what dictates elections and all this. And, you know, so that became a very infamous quote. I think it was James Carville that was the one that said that. It's the economy, stupid. And, you know, with GDP number missing, if we start to see GDP missing a couple of quarters in a row or, you know, potentially going negative, you know, that's what's going to rule the day, in my opinion. And we just got, so, you know, everybody just brushed that off. Well, we just missed GDP big time, but that's going to be ultimately, you know, those types of things I think are going to come into play in a much bigger way by the end of the year.
Higher for longer.
Somebody said higher for longer. That would be a good motto for Bitcoin this year. So I can't remember who said that, but I read that a minute ago in our chat. So
no, but look at the major cities and look at the prices in the major cities for houses. It's out of control.
Is our live stream too long, George? Guess how many people think yes. I mean, I know you don't have to guess. Well, you can look at it.
I'm going with 22. I'm a psychic.
Whoa, you are spot on.
That's crazy. Thanks, guys. I mean...
So some people think that this is too long. I'm not sure I understand that concept. I'm not trying to be obstinate, but I truly
they want us to get through the. What we probably should do is remember we were trying to do this. We did it one time,
where we had the drop down like this topic, that topic, this topic, that topic.
We should probably do that and then open it up to like more. I don't know. I like the format though.
Well, 80%, 78% think it's not too long. So I don't know that we want to mess with what we're doing.
No.
Some people feel like it's too long. Maybe we can try to get it a little more structured. That might help mitigate that concern. It was Midway who said higher for longer would be a good motto for Bitcoin this year. Thank you,
Yeah,
Midway.
trucking is down. I still can't get over the prices of stuff at the grocery store. As long as you finish before day 2 of the draft starts. Oh, yeah. Did you see anybody? Did you see who Buffalo got or no?
Buffalo traded out of the first round. I don't.
Not that they needed anybody, anyways.
I don't know. People are going to get mad if we talk about football. I have a video that I haven't watched yet that would in detail explained why Buffalo traded their pick all the way. They got themselves out of the first round altogether and what they got back for it. And I'm not sure what the answer to any of that is, but so far I'm not encouraged with the off season. Yeah. Yes, you're right. The answer is money, but hopefully they'll get a little more specific than that.
I didn't even read the article, and I figured it out.
Crypto Golfer saying we need a 15-minute intermission. Crypto Rich said, WTF are the Bills doing giving KC a better draft pick? Yeah, that's a great question. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I need to watch that video. I got a guy that does a detailed breakdown every day on the Bills that I'm saying I got a guy. There's a guy on YouTube that is part of a network. Every single team has one of these. I can't remember what it's called. And so I'm going to see what's what. MicroStrategy to 20K said, Tom, you are wrong. There will be more crypto winners. So I may be wrong, but I may be right.
Only time will tell.
That's right. I just don't see another crypto winner. I do not see, and he's saying maybe only 50 to 60% retracement. So that's not that different than what I said. I said, 40 to 45%. I don't think we're ever going to see a 60% dip again, but I could be wrong. If we do, I think it'll be a flash crash. A crypto winter is defined by, in the past it was 80 to 85%, and it persisted for over 12 months. I just don't think we're ever going to see that again. Right? That's not the same as traditional markets work. A bear market, bear markets are very short. If you look at, take the S&P, take the Dow, take the NASDAQ, any of those, bear markets are maybe 10% of the total amount of time. So 90+% of the time, we're in a bull market. Now, bear markets can be vicious, and a lot of people lose a lot of money in a bear market, and they do happen, but the vast majority of the time, the market is moving up. That's how traditional markets work. I know, we're a lot earlier and a lot more volatile here in the Bitcoin world, but the more money that comes in, the bigger this market cap gets, the more I think it'll start to at least move in the direction of more traditional assets. It will still be more volatile than everything else. I agree with that. Crypto Rich said, that isn't ever going to happen again for Bitcoin. Maybe the alts. So that's where I'm at. I would agree with you 100%, Crypto Rich. I think the alts will have crypto winners for the foreseeable future. And Robin said, who's also a member, said, a crypto winner for crap coins, yes. Right, that's a very different dynamic. Those are completely, there's a reason they're called altcoins. And there's going to be a handful that raise themselves out of that category ultimately. Obviously, we know Ethereum's going to be one of them. I think Solana is, extremely popular and growing in size. George is an XRP person. There's just a handful of coins that are significant. Midway said, that could be a good poll. Will the next bear market for Bitcoin be less than 45%, 45 to 55, 55 to 65, or worse.
Okay, next. We're calling that a crypto winner?
Crypto winner. For Bitcoin. For Bitcoin. Because the altcoins, we have different opinions that may be worse.
Okay, what was it?
So less
okay,
than 45%. Oh, you got it? You see that?
Yeah, I see it.
Darren is saying, I believe Bitcoin will have a crash above 50%. Crypto Golfer said XRP is still in a crypto winter. Actually, a crypto ice age. Sorry, George. Couldn't resist.
That's okay. It don't bother me any. I've never had more conviction on something in my life. You know?
That's the key. Seth said AMP. If you could elaborate, Seth.
Maybe that's a...
I don't know if that's an abbreviation or if that's a token, coin, etc. Enlighten us, if you would. All right, let's see what we haven't talked about. So, Epic Sat, mined from fourth Bitcoin halving block, sells for $2.1 million. So I don't know if you guys, probably a lot of you knew about this issue that was out there. This is the first halving where, with the invent of ordinals, you're able to actually identify, and sell a satoshi, which I think is 1/100 millionth of a Bitcoin. Correct me if I'm wrong in that. It's some minuscule portion of a Bitcoin. So you can see one satoshi is currently worth, so this would be 1 cent, so 0.065 cents. So almost nothing, but it sold for $2.1 million. Million. And Epic Sat, an exceptionally rare satoshi mined from the fourth Bitcoin halving block, has sold for 33.3 Bitcoin. So when you say it that way, it's kind of a head scratcher. How does somebody buy one satoshi for 33 Bitcoin? But they did.
Wow.
At auction. The auction, which commenced on April 22nd, saw 34 bids before an unidentified bidder won ownership rights to the Epic Sat, and that's their Satoshi number. The next closest competitor
You think
bid,
it was Satoshi himself?
20 Bitcoin. So I don't know if this was a closed auction. Why would somebody jump from 20 to 33.3 unless it maybe was, I don't know. That's a pretty big
Satoshi.
jump. I guess so.
Satoshi's back.
He's buying. I feel like that would be. Listen, I don't know. I never understand when these things sell for This is like the NFTs. It's exactly like the NFTs. I never understood those selling for these astronomical amounts and how many people spent millions and millions of dollars. A lot of celebrities.
How long do you think it would be to break Satoshi's wallet? The key. You think it could be done?
No, I don't.
Even with quantum?
No, I think quantum computing is going to be of no help in that matter. Don't even get me started on that.
I'm so waiting for you to say that.
You're setting me up, George. I'm not a believer.
What if I could guess? Oh, what is there? Is there like 72 words? Or 26 words? For the key?
I don't know the answer to that question.
I'll flash mine up real quick.
That's not a good idea. I don't recommend that. Somebody
I
said
can't- I
smells like
forgot how
money
many-
washing to me. Unmolded Jeff. Unmodded Jeff. Sorry. Smells like money. And celebrity grifters. And then Crypto Golfer said, by the time quantum computing gets to that point, there will also be quantum security measures. So I think that makes a lot of sense, right? The one would go hand in hand with the other. I believe
This
we
is
are.
so sad.
What?
No, I'm just looking at nothing. I was looking at a price point I put down on 3/6/24, and it was Cleanspark was 15.82 and Bitfarms was 2.50.
So that's the answer to my question of which cryptocurrency I think is the most undervalued right now. And I think it's Bitfarms. I think Bitfarms is, if you look at a couple of these, and the other thing is, remember, when we look at market cap, we're never really exactly sure just how long. A lot of these companies have at the market shelf offerings open, so we don't know the exact number, but given the latest and greatest information on the number of outstanding shares, Bitfarms' market cap is $654 million. So if I compare that to, and this is not to denigrate any of the other Bitcoin miners. Both of these are miners that I have in my top 8 that I think are going to do well. Cypher's market cap is $1.33 billion. That's more than double Bitfarms' market cap. Bitfarms, for most of the rest of the year, is going to be a much bigger company than Cypher is. So, and, a lot of people are judging Bitcoin on their current cost per coin and the current equipment they have. But remember, if they're able to properly execute their plan, they will have swapped out the vast majority of their machines. In addition, quadrupling their exahash rate, they're going to be down, like we talked earlier, somewhere 21, 22, 23 joules per terahash. So their cost per coin is going to get a lot more in line with Cypher's cost per coin. If they can execute properly, they will have, for most of the rest of this year, somewhere between 50% to double the mining capacity of Cypher, and they're half the market cap. So, if you look at that, if you look at who else was I thinking of? Well, we'll just look at a couple. Bitdeer's $750 million. Bitfarms is going to be mining maybe triple or quadruple Bitdeer if they. Well, we'll see. We don't know, but their growth plans are significantly larger than Bitdeer's growth plans, and they have a smaller market cap. Just for fun, where's TerraWolf at? TerraWolf's at almost $750 million. They have a larger market cap. So again, and I do believe. So one of the assumptions I'm making when I say that I think, and again, this is not financial advice. This is my personal opinion. One of the reasons I think Bitfarms is the most undervalued is I do think they are going to execute their growth plans this year. So, that's, if they don't, obviously that would change. And that's true for all the companies I just pulled up, have big growth plans this year. So, a big factor is going to be, do they properly execute on those growth plans? I think that Bitfarms will. I think that they're lagging behind in market cap on all these other miners when they're going to be bigger. The 3 miners I just pulled up for most of 2024, if Bitfarms gets to where they say they're going, they're going to mine a lot more Bitcoin than these companies in all likelihood. Now, that remains to be seen, but if that ends up being how it plays out, I just think there's a lot of room to the upside for Bitfarms. That's my personal opinion. And again, the other companies I just mentioned, they're all in my top 8. And I think they're going to have a good run this cycle. I just think, if I had to pick which one's the most undervalued, it would be Bitfarms. Iron, $716 million. So that's the one that I would say is the second most undervalued. But, if everybody goes on plan, by June 30th, Bitfarms will be at 12 exahash and Iris Energy will be at 10. And they both have plans. You know, Iris has plans to get to 20 at the end of the year, Bitfarms to 21. So very, very similar, but Bitfarms a little quicker if they stay on track. So if, of course, you know, we have to wait and see how all that plays out. Next crypto winter for Bitcoin. So the big winner so far, less than 45%. So not a full majority, but 43% of the people think that the next bear market / crypto winter is going to be less than a 45% pullback. 45 to 55% is in second place with 20%. Actually, it's a tie, 55 to 65%. The other three are, you know, almost all the same, 20%, 20%, 17%. So all over the place. We'll see what happens. Well, we've been accused of running too long, George. You got any other thoughts, or should we say good night?
No, I got nothing. My brain's is empty up there. It's like all I was thinking about is food.
Well,
if I could join the two things I love the most together. Seinfeld reference,
I was
going
to say, that's a George Costanza.
Yeah. I didn't tell you what the other thing is. But maybe you know the quote.
I remember the episode. Midway said, Bitfarms and Iron are both extremely undervalued, so Midway agrees. And Darren S. said, BTBT is massively undervalued. So BTBT, Darren, I agree with you. I think that's one's very interesting. I don't own it, but
I'm afraid of it.
I think that, you know, if they execute their plan, then... And they have... Right, you know, and that's the if with all these, but they also have a really nice balance sheet, and so I think they're undervalued, but I don't own them. My parting thoughts would be, I think when I put the data together, we're going to see that this was 2 weeks in a row where the Bitcoin miners, for the vast majority of the Bitcoin miners, once again outperformed Bitcoin. So that is a 2-week trend reversing a 16-week trend in the other direction. So I think we've bottomed out on this Bitcoin miner underperforming, and I think we're going to see it get back to what it has been in the past, which is acting as a leveraged play on Bitcoin. So that doesn't mean every single one, every single day, but I think over the course of time, from now until the end of the year, I think the Bitcoin miners that are going to win, and I will say, as I always say, I do think there will be winners and losers this time. Unlike in previous times where it was all Bitcoin miners to the moon, there's just so many more Bitcoin miners, so much more competition that I think the ones that have the best plans are going to be big winners, and some of the other ones, you know, may have a problem.
Transparency.
For sure, in this space, that is critical. Whether you're hitting your targets or missing them, you know, keeping investors up to date and, you know, with accurate revisions, as accurate as possible. So I feel good about this week. I think the price action on Bitcoin also was positive this week. I know we're going to finish down a little bit. Well, let's see, where was last Friday? So this was last Friday, right? So just, we were down 5% this week. Last week, Bitcoin was down 4%. This week, it was down 5%. That's all from this peak up here at the top of this recent range, a little over 71,000. So in that 2 weeks of pullbacks, the Bitcoin miners, I think, did very well. So I think that's what we're going to see. I'm optimistic. My number one thing that I will be looking for over the weekend is, can we hold this line of support at $61,000 and $61,900? So that's what I'm hoping for. George, have a great weekend. Everybody have a great weekend. Thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you guys next week, and you can look for the update over the weekend as well.